So, welcome, guys, to the Old Boys podcast. This is another episode. It has been long, but here we are back again with a new episode for you. And we hope you will enjoy this thing. It's about something called Africanism. Very informative, very current. It's about current affairs. So, we hope you'll enjoy this thing. And I'm here with my co host. He's been featured in a past episode. I've also been featured in a past episode. So we are doing an episode together. This is all about Africanism. Things have been going on, in the country, generally in the continent, and even all over the world that impacts Africa as a whole. So it's really imperative for us to talk about these things. Yes. So I don't know I don't know if Gilbert. I have a question for you.
Yes.
Yes, and it's about just current affairs.
Yes.
You've heard of things that have been going on in West Africa. Well, sorry for not starting from somewhere. These kind of things usually build but I'm asking you a question that is very direct.
Yes. Yes.
There are these things that have been happening in West Africa. We've had Burkina Faso, Niger, and all these countries
Mm-hmm.
that have impeached their presidents.
Mm,
And even Congo Brazzaville, they did the same.
mm,
So, and I was looking at some news on Bloomberg. Bloomberg is a website that offers news, and they were saying ever since Burkina Faso toppled that guy who was in power, they've recorded an 11% increase in their GDP per capita, and they drove away French troops and all that. So is this really a good move, or is it risky for them? Maybe you should have something in mind, because you've also been seeing these things going on. How will it impact their businesses? Because we have people on ground who are doing some things. Of course, they were in business with France, and when these French troops were moved from those countries, there was some economic impact, also some political impact because of this guy being removed from power. There was also like a social impact that will affect people and how they relate with each other.
yes. Yes.
So, what can you say about this before I give my own opinion?
Hello, guys. I'm Dr. Gilbert Kitua. Yes. We'll be hosting. I'll be co-hosting the podcast with you, of course, and uh, our resident host Wanga. Um, with regard to the question you've asked, yeah, I've also noted that there's been a change or a shift in rule in the ruling. I'm looking for a bit of a better word to use. You said impeached. I don't think it's impeached. It's literally coups have been happening in the West African countries. So
Yeah.
first of all, there must have been something that pushed them to take that action, and it's a
Mhm.
militaristic approach. And as Africans, I think we need that.
Mhm.
Yeah, because Africa as a continent and even African countries don't even belong to us at the moment. We've
Mhm.
been sold to
Mhm.
belong either to the West, mostly to the West, of course. So you get that the resources
Even
we
maybe
have,
to the east.
yeah, and even the East is getting a fair share of what belongs to Africa. So I think it's a good move, definitely, because we
Mhm.
we need to be free and rule ourselves. And we can only do that if young, energetic, open-minded individuals can do that. So from a general point of view, I think the manner in which they've been conducted, there's no bloodshed. That would say then it's not been conducted in a manner that would claim lives in the first place. Then economically, I think there will be impacts negatively because Africa as a continent, would say, with regard to manufacturing and technology, we are not as advanced as our neighbors in the west or the east. So you get that if these countries then impose economic sanctions on African countries, it will be very hard for us to for us
to catch up trade wise.
Yes.
So I have actually two opinions, conflicting opinions.
Yes.
Being open-minded, you tend to have very many ideas. Some may be right, some may be wrong. But an opinion is just an opinion, something that you just think about.
Yeah.
So this is my first opinion. To me, first of all, me as a very concrete and strong African, and also being an Africanist, I tend to impose things about Africa on other people to change. Like living in Europe, people tend to have this wrong perception about Africa because of some sort of propaganda that is being fueled by their governments on the news, even on social media. The posts you see on social media have been filtered down by the government. You may think that you have all this freedom, but you're just seeing what your government wants you to see, so that you cannot start building this sort of rebellion. They can't really show you everything. I mean, this is by design.
Of course, the mainstream media and the government are in bed, so you'd expect that everything you get is filtered.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So where I am right now, I usually try to paint a different picture about Africa. People think that Africa is this place where there is so much war, there is drought, there is suffering, there is all these, there is no water. We have children starving all over the place. But if you ask someone around about what do you think about Africa, what do you think is the general situation that is in Africa, they will tell you something about that, something close to poverty, people don't have money and all that. But in my perception, I usually try to paint a different picture. Of course, when you come to the ground, people have their own fair share of problems, just like here. Yeah, but it isn't really that bad, it isn't really that terrible.
Yeah, like it's like having a bell curve where you have a minority of the people are very rich, then majority of the people in the middle are not badly off and not so very not that well off, but they're not suffering that much. And then you have a small percentage of people at the other end, like say 5%, maybe below the poverty line, they can't access water. So you get that people will focus on this small group and then paint a picture of the whole country of the whole continent as true, but that's not the case.
Do you know why that happens?
No. Tell me.
The investors from other continents, people want to invest all over the world. So they need to see Africa as this place that has got so much poverty. And being in that situation, it's something that you can go and exploit. you know.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's somewhere you can go maybe and invest, somewhere that you can find resources, even resources. That's just something else that I'm going to talk about in a few minutes.
Yeah.
uh, so
And
they need to have this picture.
in addition to that,
Yeah, go on.
in addition to that, there's a TED talk I once listened to, where someone, I think we'll share the link sometime later. We'll even discuss the topic sometime later. So
Yeah, we can put that link in the description of the video.
yes, so ideally, let me call them, the white man has a superiority complex, and they believe that they are here to save the world and everyone. So in one way, they think we Africans are helpless and we all always need help from them. So I think that's one thing that pushes them to come to Africa and save us. Save us,
In quotes.
in quotes. Yes.
Yeah. Now, about resources, I think Africa is the richest country. The richest. Well, let me talk of country because this thing as a continent needs to unite. If you look all around the place, Africa is the only place that is so much divided.
But
If you go to the west, we have we have America. It's a very big place. If you go to Europe, we have the European Union. In the east, we have China, and there is BRICS, of which most countries in BRICS are from the east. And also, uh, like also, talking about this propaganda that is supposed to demean Africa, there is one thing that particularly concerned me, and I just noticed this the other day, just recently. These maps that we've been using to study geography, even in our schools, they've shown Africa as a very small thing.
mm,
Do you know that Russia, the US, India, China, all of them combined can fit, even Europe, all of them combined can fit into Africa, and we'll have even so much space, like 10 more countries of space left. So we have all these in terms of size, we have all this in terms of resources, we have all this in terms of population. Talk of market and labor because of the population. Overpopulation isn't a
but
problem.
do
When people give birth, this is how the world is supposed to work.
do you
You know,
think
uh-huh.
do you think the colonization do you think that the colonization of Africa that happened in the mid 19th mid 20th century, that is like for most countries that anywhere between 60 to 70 years ago, do you think that the colonization that
Mhm.
happened during that time has enslaved
Mhm.
us mentally up to this moment?
Yes, even more. And I really wish that it never happened because those guys that were coming in to colonize Africa, they were coming to Africa for the first time. And they were coming with all this so much force. If you don't agree with me, I kill you or I enslave you. That was their mentality.
You know,
Well, it was a long time. It's
yes,
not the same people. Just listen first of all. Just first of all, listen.
hmm hmm
There were those guys. Of course, they died, and we have new people right now. No one is really racist. We have new generations of people. But back then, that was the mindset of people.
mm,
Africa. There is this diary that was found. If you go to Nairobi National Archives, there was a diary that was written by
mm,
a settler from Britain. He wrote and said that I've lived in London, on the streets of London. People are starving. Every evening, I see people on the streets begging. But I've come to this place where there is so much abundance. There is so much food, and everyone is just satisfied. That was then. That was in the 1910s.
mm,
Yeah, that was in the 1910s. So they came here with all this force. You have to agree with what I'm telling you because they had all these guns. Africa, we never needed to have to fight.
yeah.
I mean, just talk to your neighbor, agree with them, and everything will be fine. Why really create weapons? We didn't had, we never had all these mindsets. I need to fight you. I need to enslave you. we really didn't have this much violence. Of course, there was also a fair share of violence, but it wasn't at a very big level whereby people need to enslave others and all this kind of thing. And also, um, and also I've come to Europe just recently. Of course, I didn't come with force. You need to agree with me and all these.
Yeah.
So if these guys that time never came to colonize Africa, there could have been some sort of establishment, something that isn't guided by force. Just come and agree with the people that you've met, because these guys had their own thing. They were doing. They also had their own cultures that were working for them. Um, there was somebody who was telling me that this whole concept of money, well, it's helping us, but it's like also enslaving us. It's like you're working for money.
Yeah.
Yeah, in Africa we never really had this thing. It wasn't there. We just used to work for ourselves.
But
If you're working for your own people. Yeah, you work for your family and all that.
yeah, it was
Yeah,
mostly
it was communal,
yeah.
and it worked perfectly. Of course, some issues here and there, some gray areas, but for the most of it,
And
it was fine.
and as a continent and as a people, I think if the whites never came to colonize the Brits and the Germans, if they never came to colonize us, then we'd eventually develop our own technology with our resources, definitely. So even
I
if
think we did.
yes.
I think we did. I think we've already done that.
But imagine how the progress would have
Mhm.
been without those guys coming. So maybe
Do
it
you
would
really
be
need
slower.
Instagram?
No, I think it's no. We don't need Instagram at the moment. We don't need
You really don't need
we
it.
don't need
You really don't need it. You don't.
yeah.
Perhaps YouTube, because it has some knowledge, you can learn a few things here and there. Instagram, not really, because of the way it's designed. You really don't need to post your pictures and.
TikTok is the worst.
Yeah, neither do you need TikTok. It's even worse.
Uh, uh,
And there is an ongoing issue.
mhm.
I think in Kenya, but it was last year. Even the government had to intervene. This is actually something serious. I don't know if you heard about this.
Mm,
I don't know if other governments of other countries in Africa have also intervened in this issue.
mhm.
You've heard of OnlyFans, right?
Yes.
Yeah, I don't want to go into the details, but something sort of OnlyFans was going on TikTok,
Yeah,
and
I heard about it sometime last year. I think around anywhere between June, July, August there.
I mean, yeah, it was going on. It was an ongoing thing. In fact, it was
Yeah.
growing because
Uh,
girls, ladies, women were making money from this thing.
mm.
They were really making money. But, for us, as Africans, that's not really something that our society is trying to build.
Mm.
We want to be more civilized as Africans. In
We've
other
taken
continents, civilization may have a different definition, but for us,
yes.
that's not proper.
Yeah, we've taken the technology, and instead of utilizing it for the positive, it's eroding our moral standards. And
Mm-hmm.
yeah, whatever unified us as Africans, as it disintegrated definitely. We are not saying like
Mm.
Instagram and well, that's my opinion. Then it's not like Instagram and TikTok are that bad. I mean, they're bad, yes, but look at it from a business point of view. You can have, say, if you're selling laptops, you can create shots of your laptops, Instagram
Mm-hmm.
shots or TikToks. If you if you have a gym, yeah, you can record that. Say if you have a business, then you can use those platforms to market
Market your own business, right?
yes. But it's not
Yeah.
it's not everyone who will use the platforms for the good, definitely. And
Yeah, for
yeah,
sure.
it's been designed that way. because there's a let me call it a technique, a marketing technique, where they hoodwink you with reels. So they give you, it's sort of, yeah, positive reinforcement. It's like intermittent reinforcement. So they give you videos that you want to watch. So say if you're a fashion enthusiast, so they'll give you shots,
Mm-hmm.
like 5 shots of topics related to fashion, and then they'll give you the sixth shot will be something totally off. So to your brain, that will make you feel like,
Mm-hmm.
let me skip this and go to the next. And guess what? The next five still on fashion. Uh, the
Mm-hmm.
11th and 12th, something totally off. It pisses you off. You skip, and you keep on moving
Mm-hmm.
on this hedonistic treadmill that you you, you do nothing positive for yourself and your time.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So, and
Yeah.
to relate it to our topic of the day, Africanism, I think
Mhm.
if we
So how is that
follow,
affecting Africans?
yes, if we follow the technologies without really
Mm-hmm.
being conscious of what we are doing, and then we will not make any positive advancements as a society.
Yeah, we won't really. Have you ever seen the list of people who've won Nobel Prizes?
Mm, yes.
Forget about in Africa, we only know about the Nobel Peace Prize.
Mm,
Peace.
mm-hmm,
But we have five other categories.
mm-hmm,
There is the Nobel Prize for Physics. There is the Nobel Prize for Physiology and Medicine.
mm,
There is the Nobel Prize for Chemistry.
mm,
There is the Nobel Prize for Literature.
mm.
There is also the Nobel Prize for Economics. We have like five more. Those are five.
Yeah, yeah.
Then now we have a sixth one for peace. So I think we only recognize these peace and maybe I think literature and all that.
Mm.
And I think we only have two Africans who've won the Nobel Prize for literature. I think Chinua Achebe
Chebe?
and someone else I've forgotten.
Mm-hmm. I know of Chinua Achebe.
And maybe no, I've forgotten. I'll look it up, but I think it's only either one or two people. Very few. Peace Prize in Kenya, I only know of two people. Of course, there is Wangari Maathai, and Barack Obama was Kenyan citizen by
Is
birth,
he
so he's
is he
also
Kenyan?
Kenyan anyway.
Is he Kenyan?
Yeah, he was. According to the Kenyan constitution, he's Kenyan citizen by birth. For
Okay.
you to be a citizen in Kenya, you have to. One of your parents has to be a Kenyan citizen, of which his father was
Mm,
at the time of election.
mm,
Yeah, so he was a Kenyan citizen by birth, regardless of where he was born. So those are the. I think those are the two people.
mm,
Then we had Nelson Mandela from South Africa, and maybe some other guys that are not more than 10.
mm,
Otherwise, those other fields have been dominated by people from Europe. Of course, it's by design because they can't really choose you, specifically because you are African, I think. You may
but
have a good idea, but they will
we also don't have the resources that will encourage people to pursue these fields at a top
research.
levels. Yes. So, say for example,
Yeah,
for medicine, I mean the medical field definitely. So you'd find that
yeah.
for pharmacists, we have KEMRI, of course, the research institute, the Kenyan Research Institute. But you look at the
Hmm.
equipment that they have
Hmm.
and the technology they have, I don't think you'll make any breakthrough with, with that kind of technology.
Yeah, yeah, it's
And
mediocre, so
yeah,
to
it's
speak.
mediocre. And that trickles down also to the government.
Hmm.
Yeah. So you'd get that. Let's assume we have funds. We have funds to
Hmm.
acquire this equipment and to promote the research and development, say, of drugs, of medicine. But does that money really do the required work? It never gets to.
No.
Yeah. So that's another systemic problem that we need to fight.
Yeah, and let me just talk about that a little bit. Well, of course, well, it's a problem, you know. It's called misappropriation.
Yes, yes,
Of course, there are funds. Africa is not poor. There are funds, but these funds are mostly misused. People use them for their own personal benefits instead of those funds doing what they were supposed to do. If these funds could have been used for what they were supposed to do, maybe you could have we could have also had these new discoveries and all these. And you've talked about Camry. You know, you are for the
later.
medical field, and
Yes.
yeah. But the reason why we have all these is because of something called neocolonialism. There is a book by she's called um, there is this book called Dead Aid by a lady called Dambisa Moyo. Dead Aid.
Mm-hmm. Haven't I haven't read it, but I'll check it out.
Yeah, she describes how these aids that we borrow from Europe and from other continents, from America,
Mm-hmm.
they don't really help us. And she describes specifically how they cannot help us in any way. You know,
Mm.
let me give you one example. First of all, uh, you remember there was a time that Uganda had this president called General Idi Amin Dada,
Yes.
a true Africanist. That guy was, well, of course, you know, they always will always paint a bad picture the same way they did with Muammar Gaddafi.
Yeah.
Everyone, you know, to get into power, it's not easy.
Tucker Carlson, I think you know him. Mm, in a recent interview in
Yeah.
Saudi Arabian on a Saudi Arabian television, he was asked, "Do you think Putin is a murderer?" And he said in his, I don't want to misquote him, but he said all presidents kill. Yeah, so definitely
Yeah, I mean, this is, in fact, I'm hearing this from you. You've said this from
Tucker
Tucker
Carlson.
Carlson.
Yes.
Yeah. But I think I heard it from a different source. But it's the truth, man.
Mm.
You know, power. You need to grab power. You need to take power by force. It can't be given to you on a silver platter.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
you, you need to grab it.
Mm.
So they tend to paint these bad pictures about African leaders. I don't know, they are dictators and all this. So Idi Amin was a target. Of course, he put himself into power. He overthrew somebody else, Milton Obote.
Milton Obote.
So he came into power. Yeah, and he was in power for a very long time. I think 8, 9, 10, 11 years, maybe. I think around that time. I'm not sure of the details, but it's more than 7.
Mm.
So during that time, uh, he was being given these loans,
Mm.
and these guys that were giving him loans, they specifically knew that he was going to misuse them because he had put himself into power.
Out of.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm,
So
mm-hmm.
there was all this autonomy. He was the one to decide how I'm going to spend this money. He's borrowing it on behalf of the country. The money will come in, and he will be the one in charge of that money. So he can spend it however way he wishes. If he wants to do some developments, he can do it. If he wants to do it for his own personal business, he can also do it.
Yeah.
So he decided to misuse all these and destroy the economy because I think he was also not literate enough. So he didn't understand much about economics and all these. He also messed up the currency by telling the bank to print all much,
As much money as
a lot of
possible.
money.
Yeah.
Yeah, because there was a shortage. So that is one example that aid doesn't really work. They will target that leader in your country that they know is corrupt.
Mm-hmm.
He will take these loans, of course. We need the money. Even you as an individual, at some point,
Corruption.
even if you are rich. Just a moment. Even you as an individual, at some point in time, you will need to ask for money from someone because you're just you need to do something bigger than yourself, and maybe you don't have the finances. But according to your situation, you can go and explain your case. This person will lend you some money, mostly it's usually the bank, and you will do your business. You'll be able to pay off that particular loan. That's how these financial systems work. Anyone, any individual, and as long as it's working at an individual level, it is also working at a country level. No country is sufficient, and every country has debt. All these countries have debt.
Yeah, definitely.
But
Mm-hmm.
yeah, all of them actually. In fact, even the debt that is in Kenya is just too little. I think Japan have even more, and I think the
has
US they even have.
$32 billion in debt.
Yeah, that's just too much. But that's a story for another day. My point is, when this money comes in, you should have used it for something substantial. If it's development, then it's okay. If it is financing some people to do some things, it's fine. But if it's used for your own personal benefit, then that's where the problem lies. And
But that is
this thing that we call neocolonialism, whereby this foreign, not foreign, let me talk about Western and Eastern, because China is also a victim. Western and Eastern banking institutions, they specifically target compromised African leaders. They target those compromised African leaders whom they know
so that's their
this person is going to they know that this person is going to misuse the money. And you sign all those things, there is collateral, there is not us who is going to pay this money. Our descendants will pay this money. They'll just have to. So if maybe we can't think for ourselves, let's think for our children. We really don't need all these loans. Well, really, we don't need. Try at least to establish something. We can try and do something for ourselves. Africa has got so much resources. In fact, I was checking the other day. I think Uganda has got among the biggest gold reserves in the whole world. Yeah, and it stretches even up to Kenya. There is a part that it's like a gold, it's like a gold mine. Yeah, it's in Uganda. You can check this up. I think I was seeing it just the other day. We have got all these resources, and that's just gold. Gold has got its importance in the finance institution. It's 20% of the value of a bank has to be in gold. There is this thing. So and we also have other metals that are used in making electronics and all these.
Even
all these things are coming from Africa.
Even national currencies need to be backed in gold as a source of.
Yeah,
nowadays you'd find that the Kenya shilling, for example, is backed by the USD, and the USD is backed by the USD. So the US government, the Feds, keep on printing money, and so you find that the Kenyan shilling will keep on losing value, or the value of the Kenyan shilling will keep on fluctuating depending on the value of the USD, which is something really not sustainable. You can just have gold.
Yeah, it's not. It's not sustainable.
Yeah, you can have gold to back up your currency, so you know not to print more money than there's currency to there's gold to back it up.
And also something about gold. Like gold is among the fewest resources that never lose value. They always appreciate.
Yes.
Yeah. If the price of gold goes up, it will never come down. Never. It will have gone up forever. It will maybe just lose for some few levels, but it will just stay there and go up again. It never fluctuates like all these currencies, and the way crypto does, the way these exchanges are always changing value day in, day out. Gold never does that. Gold is always stable. It always just goes up. We have all these metals that are used for now. They're being used to create semiconductors. And right now there is all these technology boom.
Yeah.
We have AI, and yeah, we have all these companies trying to train AIs. They're trying to create AGI.
Mm.
They need the hardware. Where do you think the resources for creating these hardwares come from? The cobalt.
Africa, Congo.
And why isn't Congo among the richest countries in the world? Because they have the
It's been
resources that the
designed.
world needs.
It's been designed to be that way. Like the
Yeah.
colonialists left physically, but they really never left.
Mhm.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah, this is the new type of colonialism, and that's why I'm saying.
Mm.
Well, for now, let's change the topic a little bit.
Mm.
We've been talking about all these issues, but in terms of solutions, what do you think? What can be done, or like what can be the remedy for all this? Because I've been here. I'm currently staying in Europe.
Mm. Mm.
I've been here and I've been interacting with people. This is something I've noticed. People are just people. There is no difference between someone that is here and someone that is in Africa. People are just people. People have got their own goals, ambitions, emotions.
Mm.
The same way I can try to convince somebody here in Germany or in France, it's the same way I can convince someone in Africa to do something, because they are all vulnerable to the same things, to that kind of same manipulation. You
Mm.
know,
Mm.
it's the same. So if something is working in Europe, why can't it work in Africa? And since there is this problem in Africa, what can we really do to solve it as a people?
Mm.
Because these are things we are not really doing them for ourselves. We will also have future generations. So we have to at least do something. This is not something that we can just stand as it happens. Of course, our predecessors were, I think they didn't, maybe they were afraid, I don't know, or something, but they didn't do something about it. They didn't help that much.
Mm. For one.
So we are at a very good position, because this is an information age, and we can share all these things out there. At least someone can know these types of things, and if it's possible to do something about it,
Mm.
let it not really be about ourselves only. Maybe I'm sure this idea,
Mm.
or this kind of mindset, so many people have it, and actually this is the right time. It's imperative to have these kinds of conversations, so that people know
People
that
know
also other people are thinking
like,
about this. Yeah.
yes. So for one.
Yeah, people, you can think about it, but you say, maybe I'm just alone, this is just something in my head. But no,
Mm, not really.
people are thinking about this thing, and we
Yeah.
can now discuss solutions. If you can, like, describe some solutions for this particular situation, what really can you put across? What can you say this can be done and all this,
So
so that it can
uh
help?
yeah, so I've been trying to say, for one, I think the political class needs to change. Um
Hmm.
if you've ever noticed, I think since we were children, you've always been hearing of the same politicians over and over and over again. So one, that's a big problem that we need to sort. We need to get in new people with different mindsets from.
I tend to disagree, but go on.
Yeah, this is my personal opinion.
Hmm.
uh we need to
Okay.
get people who are progressive in one way or the other. So if you've tried the same
Hmm.
leaders over and over again, even if they're
Hmm.
not the ones really, yeah, you take part in elections and all that, but sometimes they're rigged. If they're rigged, like the 2013 election was, if you know the story of Cambridge Analytica, of course. But what I'm saying is, if you have the same people over and over in power, you will not get anything different. Like the policies, whether good or not, will not be
Hmm.
implemented in the first place. So people are there for their own benefit. Secondly, we need to have a system that is built on meritocracy. By this I mean Kenya as a country, for example, we have the most educated people in the world, but how many of these are in the positions they ought to be because they deserve to be there? Very few. So that's another problem that I think we need to solve. Yeah.
To address.
Yeah.
Need to be
To
solved.
address. Yes. Mm, what else? What else can we?
Well, okay, while you are thinking about other solutions, let me first of all talk about how I agree with you. How I disagree with you, first of all. You said something about we need to
The political
have new
leaders.
leaders who
The
can,
political
yeah,
leaders needs to
yeah,
change.
yeah, you've said it needs to change because people come with, we need to have new people who have other ideas,
Not
something
really
that can
other
help, right?
ideas. Not really other ideas, because I think we have the best policies as a nation and even as a continent. It's just the
Yeah,
implementation
but the
of those
leaders don't
policies.
just implement them.
Yes, that's
Okay.
that's one problem we need to.
Yeah, now here is where I disagree. I mean, I don't have any issue with dictators because we have two types of dictators. You
Uh,
know,
uh,
we have the malevolent dictator and the benevolent dictator.
mm,
Not all dictators are bad. Regardless of how you come into power,
mm,
you are a president, or maybe you are a prime minister, you are a king.
mm.
Regardless of how you come into power, you've reached there.
You you're a leader.
Yes, you are a leader.
Uh,
Exactly.
uh,
So for me, I don't have any issue with someone staying in power for a very long time, as long as they're doing the right thing.
what if they're staying in
And
power for a very long
if
time and
you
there's nothing they're doing? There's no change.
yeah, and then that is a problem. But
Uh,
if you look at a general African case, we have this culture, this corruption culture. A new person comes into leadership, they take their fair share of the economy, they go away. Someone new comes in, they also take their fair share, goes away. All that. No one really helps that much, and this will be ongoing over and over and over.
but
It is. I think it's important if maybe we can have just one person. I mean, I'm not saying this because it's my ideas. It's been done somewhere. Look at China.
uh,
China have had, I think, only one president ever since I knew the word China. They've had only one president. In fact, the Chinese Communist Party voted him president for life. So he'll be there for as long as he's alive.
mm, mm,
Because it's something sort of a dictatorship, but
it
I
is a
mean, look at the
dictatorship.
economy.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, look at the economy. Look at Rwanda. Rwanda has had the same president since the 90s,
Mm,
and the economy is growing. It's among the fastest growing economies in the world, actually. Look at Russia. They've had the same president. Of course, they have their issues, but economically they are not doing badly.
mm.
The only problem with Africa, socially we are doing very well. Africa has actually got the best people. Here people are cold. You can't really have conversations and small talk with people.
Uh,
In Africa, I can meet anyone on the streets and we can talk about everything
mm,
and waste our time the whole day.
mm.
And I'll go home feeling very happy and fulfilled that I met someone
We
who may
you're a
be
happy man.
even
You're a
the
happy
best friend
human.
of, yeah.
Mm,
Yeah, it's like we are a very happy people generally. So socially and with cultures, we are doing very well. And I'm actually in support of M7.
mm.
Like M7 didn't pass these LGBTQ stuff. He didn't,
Yeah, man.
he didn't accept because well, we don't really hate those
It is
people,
not.
but it's just not African.
Yeah,
It's
it is
not
not a
African.
reflection of what Africa needs to
Yeah. It's not a reflection of what the general African culture
be. Is has
portrays.
been. Yes.
Yeah. So that's why these things were not passed. And Now solutions. First, my solution is this. I was preferring if Africa could unite, and this has been something that has been on the table for a very long time. I think since the 60s, since most African countries were getting this sort of independence in quotes, because I don't even know if it's independence, because
We are not
we were
independent.
never really, we were independent. Just
I think
I mean,
the worst form of
in
colonization that ever happened to us as a people is the colonization of the mind. That's the worst thing that ever happened to us.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Okay, so just a moment.
Yeah, you are
I want to talk about these. Yeah, this sort of
Africanism.
Africa being one thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, the way we have European Union. Of course, there is the African Union, but do you really feel the impact of African Union?
No,
Do you really feel it? It's not there.
no.
It's just people with jobs earning money for talking, and not really much happening on the ground in terms of action.
Mm,
Too much talk, too little action.
mm,
Yeah. And so this is what I prefer. And this has been the talk at the table ever since the beginning of Africa.
mhm.
As a continent, we need to unite. First of all, we need to have one currency. The same way we have the euro, the same way we have the dollar.
Mm,
We need to have one African currency. If you look at West Africa, of course, there is the franc.
mm.
But this franc, it has different values across different countries. So it's not really the same currency. In East Africa, there is the shilling. It
Which is
has different values across different countries. So it's not really the same currency.
mhm,
But if you go to Europe, the euro is just the euro. Whether you go where, it's the same thing.
mm,
If you go to the US and those, I think, well, the US dollar is more universal.
mhm.
Yeah, and it's just the dollar. It doesn't really have different values across different places. So as Africans, we need really to create our own currency that we can use. If I go to Zimbabwe, I can use that same currency. If I go to Senegal, if I go to Egypt, it should be just the same country. I mean, the same currency across all those countries. This will help very much, and it will help in terms of trade.
Yes.
Because if there is only one currency being used across Africa, it will be backed by 55 countries. Imagine 55, 55, that is a quarter, 25% of all the countries in the world.
Mm.
So it means that this currency will have a say on the global stage.
Yes, yes.
It will have a say on the global stage, right?
Yes, of course.
That is one thing.
Mm,
And the second thing, we should open our borders.
mm.
It really shouldn't be difficult for me to go to Nigeria.
But with regard to the opening of borders, it's been happening recently. Yeah, there are countries
Yeah,
that are starting to
yeah, of
open
course,
their
that's not
borders,
really,
but it's not.
yeah, it's not really that much of a problem, but
But I understand,
there is
especially
still
with
an issue.
with trading and the movement of goods in and out of countries. That's been a challenge, and that's what we need to solve. So if
Yeah,
borders are to be
if we
opened,
solve that, and
economic
y-
economic barriers
there's
will be
something you've talked about, yeah, there's something we've talked about, market, international market, and things to do with sanctions and all this.
yes.
I've not checked the African population. I think I checked, but I've forgotten the figure.
It's roughly 1.4 billion people, about there, 1.4.
1.4 billion, roughly, right?
Yes.
Yeah, I believe Africa can sustain itself. Like, Africa is sustainable.
Mm,
We can produce labor to work for ourselves. We can produce goods that will serve us. We have got the market
it's
that
more
will
like
buy all these products, all these goods, all these services. we have got the market. 1.4 billion is a very big number. In fact, Africans are increasing day in, day out because of the policies. Policies in Africa don't, they don't,
And people
yeah, they don't
don't
limit
limit
childbirth. People are giving birth every day, and this is very good. Actually, this is a good thing. You know, we are being told about overpopulation and all this stuff. It's not helpful. You know, overpopulation isn't an issue really. It's not. We need people to work, man,
Yes.
and we need people to buy goods and services. Like we need people. We are human beings. We
the
need
market.
more of us around. Yeah, actually, you know, the reason why we as humans we are where we are right now, it's because of uniting and working as a group. So the more we are, the better. The more we will be able to fight off enemies and other problems and all of these.
Yeah.
That person that you don't want, if you prevent somebody from giving birth and all that, they may give birth to someone who will be. This guy may find the cure of cancer. Yeah, so don't really limit childbirth and all these as it's done in Europe. You know, well, they don't really limit childbirth. They don't really limit childbirth. But what they do is that the policies that are in place,
Do not promote.
they discourage you. Yeah, they discourage you from getting married and starting a family. So that's generally the impact will be. You won't have so many children, and the population will go down.
Even if you look at the demographics, the
Very low birth rates. Yeah,
yeah,
very low birth rates because of all these. Because of the impact of those kinds of legislations.
and a very high number of old people, which also brings them the problem of immigration and all that. So they need to fetch talent to fill the the talent gap they have with regard to employee power, skilled workers.
That's only one solution. They should also encourage policies that increase, that raise the birth rate. You know, yeah.
Back to the solutions you're listing for us African countries. You you mentioned two, as I can remember. Uniting Africa and breaking the economic, let's call them economic borders and barriers. They should not
Common currency.
Yes, having a common currency. But will that be possible?
Well, it's
because
it's a process.
Yes, if it's been happening.
It's a process, and I was supposed to give you actually like historical background, but not really very long. Just some sort of super summary. We already had people who had this idea before, but they were they were overthrown from their countries. Yeah, they were done off.
Yes.
Kwame Nkrumah, Julius Nyerere, this guy from Libya, Muammar Gaddafi. Yeah, they usually paint very bad pictures. This guy is a dictator. He needs to go away. But really, just propaganda.
For example,
Propaganda.
In the case of Libya and Muammar Gaddafi, those guys actually are suffering now more than they did when he was in power.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So I think we need to really reconsider ourselves as Africans. This is something this is like the perfect solution, the ultimate solution that we can try to implement right now. You know, this is something that will not only help us, but it will help these people that are coming after us, because you know we also have our kids and the kids of our kids. These people need to have a conducive environment to live and to have a future. You don't really have to live in fear or in doubt, thinking, you know, hey, if something happens, what will I do? You just need to be comfortable and be proud also of your own home. Yeah. You know, and you know also, just like a parting shot for me, because this is even terrible. Now this is terrible because, you know, when you are in school, They taught us how these, yeah, just in school generally, especially high school and way back,
Is that
they were teaching us
you want to
about.
talk about social studies and history and government?
Yeah, exactly. They used to tell us
Anyway,
how. They used to tell us how people were coming into Africa. So they were coming in either three groups.
mm.
We had traders. People were coming to do trade. They are coming to buy salt,
Before the traders,
gold, copper, all these things.
before the traders, there were
Mhm.
explorers. Like it's like
Yeah,
they
we
came to
no
map
traders
out.
were the first ones. Traders were the first people,
Mm-hmm.
and we had traders
Mm,
even from China,
mm,
and we had even traders from Portugal. Well, they were just traders. Their aim was just to trade. We had traders from India. In fact, that's why it was called the Indian Ocean, because they used that channel for trading into Africa, and it was them who are using that particular channel. So it was called the Indian Ocean.
mm,
And do you know that the richest person, now that we're talking about trade in Africa,
mm.
the richest person to have ever lived,
As Senegalese?
ever lived on earth?
Yes. Was he a Senegalese?
No, he's from Mali, and this is actually a coincidence because
Mali means
Mali is Mali is a Swahili word that means wealth.
yes, yes.
But there's also a country in West Africa called Mali,
Mm,
and the richest person to have ever lived in Africa
mm,
came from Mali. He was called Mansa Musa.
mm.
That guy was filthy rich because of gold. There was too much gold in that place. So the valuation of that gold makes him. I think his wealth was in trillions as of today's valuation.
Trillions
No
of
one
dollars.
really matches his wealth. Yeah, in trillions of dollars actually. So no one currently living actually matches the wealth that Mansa Musa had. So we had traders, then we had explorers. Now people are just coming to see because they found out that there is this new land that we didn't really know how it is. So they're just coming to walk around and
But I think
and see.
after it was orchestrated because in my opinion the traders mapped out the routes and then the explorers used the
Yeah,
routes
they did.
and then
Yeah, they did because they
went.
wanted to do trade.
Hmm. But then the explorers
Hmm.
used the routes to come and explore the continent and map out uh,
Explore and exploit.
yes, and map out the interiors better
Yeah.
and then
Now,
came the mhm,
I want to talk about group number three after the explorers.
mm, missionaries.
Yeah, exactly. So we had the missionaries.
Mm,
So these guys came in,
mm.
and their work was to spread the word of God, nothing else. I don't know if this is something that there was some ulterior motive or anything, but
Of course it was
this was the
planned.
effect.
Mm,
Yeah, it was all planned. All this was by design. I think so. I don't have evidence, but the way things are going and the way things are developing,
mm.
there must have been an ulterior motive, and these things are known. Right now, people know them. I think no one is oblivious to these things.
Most
These
people
guys were
are.
sent to spread the word of God, right? Yeah. And if you read the Bible, I think even it's in the Quran.
Mm,
Uh, there is a section that says, you remember when Noah was
he was there
he was with his sons and he was so drunk.
and he was drunk and one of them
Yeah, and then
uh,
so some of his sons, two of them,
mm,
Shem and Japheth. Shem and Japheth came. They were walking in rivers. In
Abraham.
rivers.
Abraham.
No, it was Noah,
Okay.
not Abraham.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, it was Noah. This guy that built the ark. I don't think if it was Abraham.
No, it was not Abraham.
So
Abraham was
this,
sent out of faith.
yeah, but Noah came afterwards. This guy is of the flood. This is the guy I'm talking about.
Mm,
Yeah, so they walked in reverse and they covered their father because they didn't want to see their father's nakedness. But there was a third son. His name was Ham.
mm.
Ham actually saw his father naked, and well, that is not it's not proper. even in our culture, it's like a taboo. You shouldn't really go through something like that. It's like you're cursed, I think. But this thing that you are cursed, it came from the Bible. And they said that this Ham guy, his descendants became Africans. So Africans are actually cursed, and they will always follow what the descendants of Shem and Japheth will say to them. And the descendants of Shem and Japheth, after the flood, went over to Europe and the East and the Americas. This is what the Bible actually tries to portray. And this is what they came to preach to Africa. This what I'm telling you is not really in the Bible, but this is what they were preaching. Yeah, there are even records that talk about these things. So you grow up believing in the Bible and knowing that Africans are actually inferior. You've been they indoctrinate you with these things, and if you see somebody that is not black, you see them as a god. These are people who need to control you and to manipulate you. You are only there to serve them and to be enslaved by them. Yeah, you have to be very submissive to them. But this was by design. These missionaries came in specifically to do this kind of job, and it worked. It worked perfectly. But right now, I think people are yeah.
Yeah, there's historical evidence to show that Africa is the cradle of mankind.
Scientifically, in fact.
Yes, scientifically. There's carbon dating showing
Yeah.
like, yeah. Just go on with the
Yeah. Civilization began in Africa. There is so much evidence for that. I mean, the earliest forms of civilizations, historically, scientifically speaking, have been recorded in Africa. So I don't really see why Africans, we should demean ourselves, why we should look down upon ourselves
I think
because of being black and all these.
Of overcoming the mental block that we are inferior because we are brilliant.
Yeah, Africans are brilliant, very, extremely.
Yeah.
I've actually met very smart people, but that we'll talk about another day. I've met extremely smart people, like that are from Africa, by the way.
Level smart.
Yeah, I can even say like Einstein level smart.
Einstein.
Yeah, these guys are extremely smart. Not like book smart, like they've mastered all these textbooks. No, someone who can reason out something.
Creative, like really
creative
people.
Yeah, they're very much creative, and you can think of it also in this way. If this person was put in a situation that they can be able to help themselves, they could be billionaires, And it's not really like a financial mindset. It's that they just have this mind that really comes up with ideas in any situation. These guys they are really smart. Yeah. So I don't know if you have anything to add on that.
No, you drifted away when we got to the missionaries and the story of Noah and his sons. Did you finish that? Yeah.
Yeah, I talked about the like how it affects Africans and how the missionaries, their role was to really brainwash Africans into believing that they are inferior to other people.
And then the colonialists came to divide us further.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Even something worse, they built all these boundaries and borders.
And call them protectorates of certain countries.
I know about East Africa. I don't know about West Africa, but I think it's the same thing. Yeah, it's the same. I've heard my friend from Cameroon, he's told me something of the same sort. Well, if you look at East Africa, they divided some Bantus in Kenya and Uganda. They were separated. We have some Nilotes in Kenya and Sudan. They were separated. We have Maasais in Kenya and Tanzania. They were separated. We have Somalis. In fact, Somalia is worse because they were separated 4 times. We have Somalis in Kenya. We have Somalis in Somalia. We have Somalis in Djibouti. Yeah, they were really forced to stay in one place and their brothers on the other side of the border. And you have to go through all this process so that you can, well, you call it civilization, but civilization for me is just a Western term. It's Western. Yeah, Africans, we believe in brotherhood and just living together. We don't really have to be separated by borders. If I want to come and speak to you, I'll just come. I don't really have to like look for a passport, you know. This is, of course, making things official and all that. But really, in the African culture, if you look at the way things were being done in an African way, if you wanted to go and visit someone or you need to do something with someone, just go and speak to them. Maybe we didn't have the transportation and all that. That should have come later, and it should have come in a more peaceful way. Yeah, it could have eventually come in a more peaceful way, not in a way that was supposed to indoctrinate some things inside our head, some things about Christianity. Do you know that there were some religions that were in Africa, but you don't even know about them? In fact, others that are in your specific tribe.
In fact,
do you know that you belong to a certain clan?
Yes,
but you don't know.
Very bad. I feel very bad that I cannot get to experience what it truly means to be African, as in from worship, from the worship experience, the social experience.
Yeah, you know, it's terrible. Our history was like deleted from us, and all of this is by
erased, modified. Now we have something different that it's worse even for the so-called Gen Z, because they've grown up with smartphones and they have no idea
Instagram, TikTok.
Yes, they have no idea.
They don't know about our African heritage. This is actually terrible. I normally try to convince people, Africa really isn't it really isn't what you think it is, or what you've been told it is. It's a very nice place. Just try and visit a random country on a random day. You will meet very beautiful people in terms of heart and the interaction.
Very beautiful people, very beautiful scenery. It's just,
yeah, in fact, the scenery, that's even something different.
Yeah. I've been visiting places and the experience is just amazing.
Yeah. So, well, it has been
today's episode has not been very long because we definitely we had some technical challenges here and there, but I think from episode 4 onwards we'll have a full house, hopefully with Coach Wanga joining us. And
yeah, he will be around next time. He will, for sure.
Yes. And to our viewers, we hope you don't mind the quality of our video at the moment. We're just getting started. With time we'll
Yeah, we are Africans.
Yes. you just start and move. So the idea of this podcast is to address issues that people really don't talk about that much, things that will be helpful for us as a people and as a nation. Africa is a nation, yes. So with the coming episodes, we'll tackle more diverse topics, and we hope even as we grow, we'll now start getting guests who have much more knowledge than us, say, in specific fields, to even educate us further.
Yeah. Well, for me, of course, my parting shot is not really that long. I can just say, if you've listened to this episode up to this juncture, you can comment what maybe you feel or you think it's important for us to talk about. You can be part of the conversation. Just give out maybe a list of topics or something that you think this is important for us to talk about. We can include it and we will discuss it at length.
Mm.
And we are not only planning to be doing this amongst ourselves. If you also feel you have something that is important and people need to know, you can you can write all these things. You can comment. We will read this stuff
Mm.
and we will invite you and we will talk about all these things, and so that so many people, so that more people can listen to this kind of stuff, and we can create an even bigger audience.
Yes,
Yeah.
agree. Yeah. For for our viewers, our content is unscripted. We just come up with a topic, do a little research, and then let it flow. So we hope you get the real stuff, the real stuff. So other than commenting on our YouTube channel, we have our Twitter channel, our Twitter handle at podcast the old boys, at podcast the old boys. You can also comment on our tweets, and cheers.